So I will try to keep it brief. I was lucky to work a few years ago on a conference on rivers continuity, and I thought it was a very interesting topic. And I heard recently about droughts in the Mekong region, and that is what led me to do a little bit more research on this topic. And I thought I would present to you the Lancang Mekong Corporation today. So what are we talking about when we talk about Lancang Mekong Corporation? Well, as you may know from your research, Lancang is the name of the river which flows in China, but it is actually the same river which then flows into Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam before entering the South China Sea. It is over 4,000 kilometers long, 4,350 kilometers from source to mouth to be precise, and nearly 284 million people depend on it and its tributaries for their livelihood. More specifically, 60 million people live on the river and derive an income from it in the lower Mekong Basin countries. So the Lancang Mekong Corporation was proposed by the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang during the 17th China-ASEAN Leaders Meeting in 2014 and was launched officially in March 2016. As the name indicates, the reason behind this mechanism is to improve cooperation between riparian countries, so between China and Mekong countries. The aim is to boost mutual political trust, connectivity, economic cooperation, and social and cultural interaction, on the basis that China and the Mekong countries share similar geographical and cultural features. To that purpose, the Lancang Mekong mechanism has formed dialogues at different levels, including leaders' meetings made up of the prime ministers of each of the 6 countries, with the last conference displaying the key message, shared river, shared future. So foreign ministers regularly meet as well, and senior officials organize also a number of working groups on specific topics such as water management, fisheries, investments, etc. So they jointly address water management issues, ways to share data, information, and joint research. The aim is to cooperate on key issues surrounding the river to promote peace in the region and sustainable growth in the neighboring countries. So the waterway is an important trade route and also a rich ecosystem with large migratory fish moving up and down the river to spawn in sync with the wet and dry seasons. It is in fact the second most biodiverse river in the world after the Amazon River. So I will spare you the names of the 500 to 850 freshwater fish species in the Mekong River. I will just mention by way of illustration that the world record holder for the biggest freshwater fish ever caught since records began in 1981 was caught in Thailand in 2005, and it was a giant Mekong catfish. It measured 2.7 meters in length and weighed 293 kilograms. So not only are there many diverse small and large fish species in this river, but it is also home to a small dolphin population called the Ara-waded dolphin, which are in fact on the verge of extinction. So the Mekong, as you have understood by now, is the world's most productive inland fishery. Cambodians and Laotians catch more freshwater fish per capita than anyone else on the planet. In many places along the river, fish is a synonym for food. It is grilled, fried, or boiled. It is wrapped in palm leaves, garnished with ant eggs, or simply mixed with rice in a wooden bowl. So the more than 500 known species of Mekong fish have sustained millions of people through droughts, deluges, and even the genocidal Cambodian regime of Pol Pot. But the river is increasingly used to generate renewable energy in the form of dozens of dams and megadams for hydropower projects. China is investing heavily in a number of downstream projects, which will help to provide electricity to areas with little or no power until now. China has been building dams on the Lancang, so the Chinese portion of the river, since the 1990s. Some estimates state that there are 60 dams and reservoirs now in use, 30 more under construction, and 90 more under consideration, according to 2019 figures. The ones already in use measure between 60 and 292 meters in height, with 155 to 5,850 megawatt in installed capacity. So one social consequence of the construction of these dams and megadams is that the sudden fluctuations in water levels interfere with fish migration and spawning, which means there are no longer enough fish to go around. So in northern Thailand, for example, fishermen have had to sell their fishing boats and switch to farming corn, tobacco, and beans. It is a chancy living and not their main trade. It is made even more challenging by the frequent flooding, which has led to thousands of people being displaced. So one environmental consequence, as you have understood by now, is that according to environmentalists, infrastructure such as hydropower dams can interfere with fish stocks on which millions downstream depend for food. And it can become a bit of a vicious circle. Most dams built on the waterway are hydropower dams. They are used to produce electricity and supply power to booming urban centers in Vietnam and Thailand. And Thailand, for example, imports power from Laos. It is a way to create a sustainable new income and reduce poverty in this country. The question is it worth getting this renewable, sustainable energy at the expense of the livelihoods of the people? In terms of economic cooperation in the region, China is the largest trading partner for all the Mekong countries. China's trade with the 5 Mekong member countries has reached over 260 billion US dollars, increasing by approximately 12 to 15% year on year. So China, through the LMC, has provided support for at least 132 projects in the region as of 2019. Countries such as Cambodia and Laos are investing more in hydroelectric power with the help of China, who then buys back the electricity at a discounted rate. So the LMC has highlighted connectivity and cross-border economic cooperation as its priorities, and construction of infrastructure projects such as the China-Laos Railway and the China-Thailand Railway are helping to facilitate cross-border integration and commerce. So since March 2016, China has emerged as a willing investor and guarantor for many projects ranging from agriculture to tourism. Another plan, China has plans to blast certain parts of the Mekong River to allow 500-ton trade boats to pass. However, this will also facilitate the entry of security guard boats to protect these trade boats, which then runs the risk of militarizing the Mekong, a river which empties into the South China Sea. However, among all the development projects that have flourished as a result of the LMC, perhaps none have had such an impact on local communities and the environment than the dams that have sprouted across the region. As the river discharges 475 cubic kilometers of water annually, it is tempting to harness its power. So previously, the regulation of river water through hydropower dams upstream of the river in the Chinese part prompted criticism, as other riparian countries along the Mekong rivers were not warned early enough to prepare for potential coming floods. Now China is taking proactive measures to coordinate operations to explain what is happening upstream of the river, which could be a potential source of conflict. Officials from China have mentioned that to create the LMC, they have learned from the 1961 water agreement between Canada and the US, which indicated how they could apportion water use related to common water bodies between the two countries. So the LMC is a confidence building mechanism, and China is planning to build on its previous experience in large waters management and then share it. So the management of flood seasons and drought seasons, but also in the medium to long term to collect best practices and reach out to other stakeholders to talk about best practices in water management around the world, and also to boost innovation in scientific water management. So the Lancang Mekong cooperation mechanism should help reduce tensions and possible conflicts in the region over water resources. It is a great example of minilateralism, as climate change is also expected to increase tensions among the various users of the river because of extreme rainfall events, an increase in the frequency of floods and droughts. The impact on the river's water could be significant, and especially for downstream countries that depend on it for agriculture, navigation, fish migration, and other critical ecosystem services. So let's hope the Lancang Mekong cooperation is successful in maintaining dialogue and cooperation. And let's hope its positive intentions are sustained for the mother of rivers, as the Mekong is called in Laos and Thailand. Thank you for your attention.